Hello, my name is Rebecca Fernandez, and today I will be presenting on my creative brief on diabetes mellitus among Native American youths. This is my strategy to raise awareness, promote positive health behaviors, and reduce the racial disparity in the United States. Let's begin with a little bit of background. So diabetes mellitus is defined by WHO as a chronic disease that occurs either when the pancreas does not produce enough insulin or when the body cannot effectively use the insulin it produces. There are two types of diabetes. So diabetes type 1, also known as insulin dependent, is where individuals have deficits in their natural insulin production, requiring the daily administration of insulin medication. This type of diabetes is not preventable, and the actual etiology of the disease remains unknown. However, according to the National Institute of Diabetes and Digestive and the National Institute of Diabetes and Digestive and Kidney Diseases, it is caused by an immune system disorder where the lymphocytes attack and destroy the insulin-producing beta cells of the pancreas. Research is currently being conducted to identify the genes and environmental factors, such as viruses, that may trigger the onset of this disease. Type 2 diabetes, which is also known as non-insulin dependent or adult onset, is the most common form of diabetes. There are several factors involved in the etiology, all of which lead to the poor use of insulin within muscle cells and muscle, liver, and fat cells. This results in the body's need for insulin in order for glucose to enter the cells. Because the pancreas cannot make sufficient insulin to keep up with added demand, the blood glucose levels rise. And that's what happens with type 2 diabetes. Next, let's talk about diabetes among youth specifically. So, diabetes is known to be the most common chronic disease affecting youths in the United States, accounting for approximately 24% of the population, or roughly 193,000 Americans under the age of 20. The matter of most concern is the increasing frequency of both type 1 and type 2 diabetes among the population. While incidence rates for type 1 diabetes are increasing, the most significant increase is seen among adolescents with type 2 diabetes. The racial group that has had the greatest increase in adolescent incidence rates over the years is Native Americans. As of 2015, Native Americans hold the highest incidence rate of type 2 diabetes at 32.8 per 100,000 adolescents. The annual percent increase for this rate is considered to be 3.7% per year, and this has actually triggered a disparity of diabetes-related kidney failure among Native Americans that is actually highest of any race. Okay, so let's look at Native American youth specifically. While national trends related to unhealthy nutrition behaviors and lack of physical exercise have contributed to the epidemic among all adolescents, Native American adolescents specifically are vulnerable to adverse conditions such as social injustice, trauma, cultural disruption, as well as poverty. Poverty in particular is a major issue that this population endures and is a contributor to elevated rates of food insecurity, which is the reality for 28% of Native households with children, compared to only 16% of U.S. households with children. These are all factors that need to be addressed further to tackle this public health crisis. Known risk factors for this population include intrauterine exposure to diabetes, such as gestational diabetes, bottle feeding, and obesity. So The disruption of the relationship between Native Americans and their homelands, including land, language, culture, and religious beliefs, are proposed to be the root cause of this health disparity. Specifically, the industrialization on some of the tribal lands has been associated with the limitation of the people's ability to harvest their traditional foods and restrain of their physical activity. Physiological stress responses are the main biological explanation for diabetes among Native American adolescents. This response is associated with the cumulative emotional and psychological injuries sustained across generations. Another notable association is between physiological stress response and adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs, which also lead to chronic diseases such as diabetes. If the issue of diabetes among Native American youths continues to prevail, this population will be at risk of long-term complications. Here we have the potential health consequences, like the long-term effects that I was just talking about. When diabetes is not properly treated or is uncontrolled as youths, it can exacerbate into the diagnosis of a wide range of health issues as adults. These issues are present particularly in the eyes, kidneys, nerves, gums, and within the heart and blood vessels. Eye complications include cataracts, retinopathy, and glaucoma. From the kidneys, this could be kidney disease, also known as diabetic nephropathy, which may ultimately result in kidney failure or the need for a kidney transplant. Diabetic neuropathy presents with when diabetes causes nerve damage involving nerves in different parts of the body. This leads to numbness, tingling, or sharp pains in the lower extremities. The feet, in particular, may be prone to injuries and irritation, and wounds involving the feet of diabetics are much more likely to heal improperly and cause infection. Uncontrolled diabetes in youths are at an increased risk of developing cardiovascular disease as adults, including heart attack, stroke, and vascular disease. Finally, diabetic youths are at risk for gum disease due to an increased amount of plaque and hyperglycemia, as well as a loss of collagen in gum tissue and poor circulation in the gums. This may result in gums which are sensitive, painful, receding, discolored, or prone to bleeding. So let's go ahead and get into our target audience. The target audience that needs to be reached are obviously Native American families in the United States. In particular, it may be most beneficial to target elementary, middle, and high school students, as well as their parents. While self-care is usually considered to be key for diabetics, the focus of our initiative is related to the disparity as it pertains to youths. Youths often learn their beliefs, values, and habits according to what they perceive in their environment, particularly in their home environment. Thus, it would be most beneficial to make the parents of these youths a main part of our target audience. The first step in effectively reaching our target audience is understanding their values, beliefs, and aspirations. Native American families are known to be very traditional. They value their elders as leaders and see the children as the future. The wisdom of the elders is believed to be due to their life experiences and is very valuable to families. They are honored for the gifts of cultural knowledge, traditions, and general life ways that they are able to pass down generationally. Strong feelings of familiar connectiveness are reinforced by including children in all community events, even political functions. It is important to Native American families that children feel secured and maintain a sense of belonging. Another interesting aspect of this racial group is that they see child rearing as a communal effort. This means that parents are not the sole figures involved in raising their children. To the contrary, it is a combined effort involving the elders within the family and other respected members of the Native American community or tribe. This ideology can be used when we are implementing this program to our advantage. So here are our objectives. So in order to improve diabetes among Native American youth, we need to enhance health behaviors, such as the implementation of more nutritious diets and promote physical activity. As previously stated, there are various members involved in a Native American child's development who will be able to advise them on what constitutes an overall healthy lifestyle. As the main caregivers of children with diabetes, the parents are often tasked with grocery shopping, cooking, preparing, and packing meals, including school lunches and snacks. They are also often responsible for taking children to their to their scheduled doctor's appointments, aiding them in monitoring their blood glucose levels, or even with their medications. It is then of the utmost importance that Native American children and parents alike understand that diabetes is an important and pertinent issue that affects them. The goal is to encourage Native American children to become healthier by improving their diets and increasing their physical activity. Children and parents must be made aware of the issue and instructed on the guidelines on proper nutrition and exercise for youths. By educating them, By educating them, they are empowered with the skills, resources, and knowledge to make lifestyle adjustments. At this point, Native American families are able to decipher a plan involving the specific adjustments they will make to their current lifestyles. The final goal of the initiative is that those involved will be able to educate and inspire other Native American families to make improvements in the health behaviors of their children. The success of this last goal is supported by the aforementioned strong communal ties that are valued by this racial group. Here we have some our challenges. So one of the first major challenges that comes to mind when discussing this topic with youths is maturity. So it requires a certain amount of discipline in order to understand the severity of health issues and actively participate in necessary behavior adjustments. It may be difficult to spark the attention of the adolescents within this age group, and it may be even more difficult to convince them of the magnitude of the problem. Teens in particular are recognized as feeling invincible, thus limiting their motivation to take action or their health seriously. Some other major challenges that need to be addressed are from the perspective of the parent. It is common for parents to feel that they know what is best for their children, which may make them hesitant to accept or trust unsolicited advice from health professionals. A common misconception is that children will grow out of it, or in other words, the issue will dissipate as the child ages. Parents may feel they are too busy to make lifestyle adjustments, such as cooking healthier meals, or driving their children to extracurricular activities such as sports. By bringing biology into the equation, another common misconception comes to light. Parents often feel that because they do not have a specific ailment, such as diabetes, that their children will not have it. And while there are some diabetes cases that can be associated with genetics, this is not always the case. The final challenge that must be addressed is that of culture and may present itself in two ways. So Native American parents may be hesitant to trust information about health disparities pertaining to their race if the person providing the communication is someone they cannot identify with. which I reference here as the in-group versus out-group mentality. Traditionally, a large segment of Native American diets are full of starches. So Native Americans may be hesitant to make adjustments to their diets due to their cultural norms. Next, we have our mitigation message. So the focus of this project is to reduce the diabetes disparity among Native American youth. The key benefit is described in this prevention statement we have here, addressing the target audience on the individual level, which is important. So our mitigation message is, if I implement a nutritious diet and routine exercise, then I will reduce my risk of diabetes. It's very simple, not very complicated, easy to understand. Next, let's look at our statements of support. So our statements of support come from the CDC. The implementation of this initiative will be able to succeed due to the following in accordance with CDC recommendations for preventing childhood diabetes. So it says here, excessive weight increases the likelihood of insulin resistance. Physical activity aids in maintaining a healthy weight and supports the natural biological sensitivity to insulin. And finally, nutritious diets aid in maintaining healthy weight and lowering cholesterol levels. Here we have the tone of the initiative when we are communicating, that we should be using when communicating with our audience. This tone, when delivering the information, should be authoritative, yet affable. So this tone is necessary in order to engage the participants and encourage them to ask questions. In order to effectively communicate the facts on this disparity to our audience, they need to be presented in a manner that is conducive to learning. The spokesperson must maintain a friendly demeanor in order to gain the trust of the audience. This is also to encourage them to ask their questions. It is important to avoid tones that are dismal or threatening, especially since the discussion involves the well-being of children, so we don't want to alarm anyone. The goal is to successfully communicate the evidence without alarming the adolescents or the parents. Instead, the tone of communication should leave the audience feeling motivated and empowered and well aware of the issue's severity. Here we have our modes of communication. So I broke this up into stages to make it easier to understand. The strategic implementation of 4 communication channels will be used to ensure the target audience is effectively reached, I should say. The initial channel of communication will be in-class presentations. This presentation will target students and will be conducted within school hours during their physical education or health period. At the end of that presentation, each student will receive a pamphlet with information for their parents. On the back of the pamphlet will be the date and time of an after-school presentation, specifically tailored for the parents. Which we talk about here. This presentation will be held, so we're in stage 3. This presentation will be held at 7 p.m. In order to accommodate for the working parents so that they can also be included. It will be on school grounds, and parents will have the opportunity to ask questions at the end of the presentation once we have concluded. The final channel of communication, which is stage 4, will be implemented to reach parents who are unable to attend the presentation or who did not receive the take-home pamphlet. This channel will consist of flyers posted in and or around grocery stores. So sorry. All modes of communication will offer a list of resources for those that want to learn more about diabetes among Native American youths, as well as what can be done to address this issue. Here we have a couple of potential openings. So there are a few existing scheduled events that may also be an asset to this project. One opportunity is Parent-Teacher Night. So with the permission of school administrators, a team of representatives would be able to, from our initiative, would be able to present, would be present to give a brief information session to the parents when they attend the Parent-Teacher Night. This would allow our representatives to hand out pamphlets and to answer any questions that these parents may have. Another opportunity would be for teachers to hand out pamphlets to parents or caretakers themselves when they come to pick up the children after school. So it doesn't necessarily have to be teachers. Any staff member from the school that is in charge of supervising the children when they're getting picked up after school could just be tasked. We would supply them with these pamphlets, and all we would ask is that they hand them out to these parents when they come to pick up their children. And the final opportunity is similar to the previously mentioned idea of presenting to kids during school hours. So it may actually be useful to try to reach out to students in the cafeteria during their lunch break. So this would be a good option for reaching students, as they may be more perceptive to nutrition information when they are about to eat. Finally, we have some creative considerations. If we are to successfully reach Native American youths, who are the main focus of the project, it is important to make advertisements culturally sensitive, as well as fun and attractive. We will be mindful of the aforementioned beliefs and values that are represented in this population. To make the presentation more fun for the youths, it may be beneficial to use games that get them involved. So like asking questions and providing prizes, things like that. When designing posters and planning presentations, there must be careful consideration as to, there must be careful consideration as to what will get the attention of the student. Advertisements appealing to young adolescents should be bright and colorful, with less verbiage, and should use mostly illustrations. Instead of facts, graphs, and statistics, these advertisements should depict more basic information that someone who is uninformed would be able to understand. The aspect of cultural sensitivity should be implemented very thoroughly when communicating with teens and parents, because they are older and more perceptive of this kind of thing. When trying to appeal to this more mature age group, materials such as advertisements, flyers, or presentations should include statistics, tables, and graphic representations. When designing these materials, it should also be clear that the focus is not on adolescents in general, but specifically geared towards Native American youths of Native American descent. So here are my references. I hope you all enjoyed listening to my presentation and were able to learn some valuable information on diabetes disparity being experienced by Native American youths. Thank you so much.